Multifamily Mindset
Podcast. Think bigger.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here on the MFM Podcast with me, Dallas Pruitt. Today, we're going to dive into the interview that happened earlier this week with Zach Rucker and Ayesha Khalid. It was a great interview, great story. Her story is one of inspiration, and I loved hearing all of the details on or regarding her journey in MFM thus far. I had the privilege of meeting her in person. She's an amazing human being, and I wanted to dive into some of the important components that I was able to pull from this past week's interview. She talked heavily about the importance of the long-term game, and I think that's something to recognize, not just in the multifamily space, but in everything that we do as people. When we go into a big goal that we create for ourselves, we have a tendency to lose sight of the long-term play that's at hand, and the reality of that long-term play. I think that we all get excited and we all have the tendency to believe that we're going to maybe be a little bit different than everybody else. We're going to get there quicker. It's going to be easy, and we set sometimes just improper expectations for ourselves that really trip us up. And unfortunately for a lot of us, a lot of the time, it makes us retreat or change our minds and go do something different. And the reality is that, finding great success in the multifamily space, finding great success in anything that you choose to accomplish, it's a long-term play. And I love that she talked about that. There was a specific part in the discussion where she said, stop looking at your resources and start looking within. I love that she actually referenced how when she originally started hearing me at one of the peak events, she was like, oh, this is something that I don't need. And then how that quickly transitioned and something caught her attention, which was, you are your most powerful tool for positive change. And she said that she had hit all these hurdles and she had started to look at all of the resources around her, and she was viewing her situation through a very scarce type of mindset, and how when she started to look within, that's where she started to find the answers that she really needed, that they were there the whole time. And I wanted to invite everybody to just sit on that, maybe even go back, rewind, and re-listen to that part of the interview. It's really powerful, and it's very true. When you sign up to accomplish something that means a lot to you, a big goal in your life, you're signing up for the hard road, and it, like she said, it can and will get hard. It's inevitable. And it's in those moments, most of all, where instead of looking outward and trying to problem solve everything with some type of resource that it already exists out in the world, it's really at those times where one of the best things that you can do, one of the most impactful things that you can do, is look in. And I loved that part of her interview. So again, if you are at a stage of your build, of your life, where you are trying to problem solve everything by looking outward and trying to identify what resources are available to you so you can plug and play or solve a problem, maybe stop and consider looking inside. A lot of those answers that we seek, they're actually inside of us, and it's our job to go inward and extract those things out. She talked about choice. Choice is a powerful thing. We literally are just a product of our decisions over the course of time. The reason I say that is to help us all own that. There is so much truth in the fact that you and I are agents for change. And we have the power in us to act and not simply be acted upon. And our decisions, as little as they seem, sometimes they stack up. It's not the big decisions either. It's the small decisions. It's the small decisions that matter the most. Those are the ones that stack up the most and really produce the results in the long term. And she talked specifically about this. She gave a tangible example that is something that I'm sure everybody listening to the podcast today can relate with. And she talked about the simple decision to wake up after months of striving with no deal, with no result, right? No seeable result on paper or in the bank account. She talked about the important decision to wake up and still call 1 to 2 investors a day at the very minimum. Something as simple as that. And not breaking the consistency there. That is a decision that you're going to be faced with, and that many of us are faced with every day in the process of building a business is, am I going to wake up and do the thing that I haven't yet gotten the result, the ultimate result that I want from? Do I have the courage? Do I have the belief? Do I have the commitment, the discipline to jump on that call again today? It seems like such a very small thing, like, well, no, I could probably just skip it and I'll jump back on tomorrow, or I'll skip it the next day. And you know what? I'm going to take a break, and next week I'm going to get back on and I'm going to do those things. She talked about how choosing to not falter there and to still show up and at least make one call to a potential investor has helped change the trajectory of her and her husband's business forever, because they have built a muscle there. They have built a habit. They have instilled belief in themselves, and they've grown a skill set through consistently showing up, even if it was only on some of the hard days, one call. And I think that was one of the most powerful things. Well, there was a lot of powerful things that Ayesha shared in her story, but I think that is one of the ones that I pulled from the most. Because again, I think in the world of real estate, in the world of business, we really like to glorify the result, right? We really like to glorify the triumph and magnify the accomplishment, but really the biggest accomplishments are those types of decisions. That's what leads to the big stuff. Those are the difference makers. The one call on the one day when you don't feel like doing it and you haven't yet quite seen the result that you want from the action. That is the most powerful thing that you can do for yourself. That is the most powerful thing that you can do for the growth of the business that you're growing, for the people that it's built to serve. And that's what I mean when I reference and say that consistency matters more than intensity. Friends, I want to thank you for joining us on the podcast. Today was a little bit short and sweet, but I wanted to get direct to that point. I think it's a really important component to success in this space, is doing those types of things on a daily basis, even when you're not, especially when you're not seeing the results you want to see. That's how muscles are grown. That's how growth is forged, is through those types of daily actions. Ayesha, thank you for joining us on the podcast. Once again, you're amazing. Everybody, if you haven't had a chance to go connect with her, you should. Absolutely 100%. She's a great human being. She's doing great work in the space and in life in totality. Zach, he's amazing. Love hearing him on the podcast each week. And Cindy, thank you for joining us. And we will see you guys all back here on the podcast again next Tuesday.
Multifamily Mindset
Podcast. Think bigger.